what can we offer those that live with us to elevate their everyday lives beside the obvious care, beside, the medical support? What programming opportunities can we walk alongside them to create that just elevates their quality of life? That's what we're striving to do every day.
The discussion is now, how do you understand me so that you can provide me with a program that will get me engaged, that will get me to know other people?
Welcome back to This Day and Age, where we continue to bring together experts in all things aging, giving you vital information to help you and your loved ones make confident decisions while navigating life's journey. I'm your host, Phil Tower. It's great to be with you. And when you hear that term, healthy aging, and you see it a lot in the news these days, the first things that probably come to mind are the typical things like exercise, a healthy diet. But you may be surprised to learn that while those are factors that are very important, social engagement, life enrichment are moving higher and higher up that list of what means healthy aging. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Marenta Klinger. Marenta is Director of Resident Life at Holland Home. Also, Elizabeth Audette-Bourdeau. She is CEO of Welbi. They'll be talking with us just how important these factors are for healthy aging and how senior living experts and the industry as a whole is working to provide aging adults with more opportunities for engagement, because we don't want to just live long lives. We want to live long lives that have great quality, or at least the best quality that they can have. I'm pleased to welcome, as I said, both Elizabeth and Marenta to the program. Marenta is here with us in studio, and Elizabeth is joining us remotely from a secret, undisclosed location. First of all, Elizabeth Audette-Bourdeau, welcome to the program, and thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. My secret location is up north in Canada.
All right, terrific. I want to ask you, first of all, I know our listeners would like to know about you and Welbi. You're CEO of Welbi. Talk about your role and what Welbi is all about, if you would, please, Elizabeth.
Yes, for sure. So Welbi started 7 years ago now, and it actually happened following a situation that we had with my grandpa. So I lived 2 hours away from my grandparents. My family lived about an hour away from my grandpa. And at the time, we noticed that he needed more social interactions and he needed more and more attention. So what we decided to do was, hey, let's look into some senior living communities that are around where he lives so that at least we know he can join a community, have fun, but at the same time also get the care and the attention that he needs. And we ended up selecting a community where he joined, and sadly, it did the total opposite of what we were expecting, and he ended up being socially isolated in his room, and he passed away a few months later. And that's really what inspired me to create Welbi, because at the time, what I noticed is that as much as the staff wanted to know more about my grandpa and be there and provide him with this personalized experience, they just couldn't, because they were stuck behind their desk, behind their computer, doing administrative tasks. So that's when Welbi got created. I didn't want this story to happen to any other families. So what we do today at Welbi is we help the staff not only get to know every resident on a personal basis, but we also support them into all of their administrative tasks so that we can automate it. And then in the end, we're saving about 25 hours a month of administrative tasks so that they can now be on the floor with the resident, engaging with them, providing them with that personalized experience so that we can reduce social isolation. So this is a bit about Welbi in a few sentences.
Well, I'm sorry that tragedy had to lead to starting Welbi. What a wonderful thing. What an impactful thing you're doing for so many families. Marenta is with me here nodding her head, and then you have seen firsthand what and how important healthy aging is. Marenta, as you heard Elizabeth's story, I'd just like to have you add to that your role as Director of Resident Life here at Holland Home.
Sure. I have been blessed to be here for almost 10 years and have the privilege of working alongside our life enrichment professionals, our fitness team members, and our rec therapists across all levels of care at both of our campuses. And it is just an amazing team of individuals that I get to work alongside every day and support them through the tools that our wellness model, Vibrant Living, has to offer. And I actually met Elizabeth at a conference 4 or 5 years ago. And we just continued to keep in touch over the years and finally became, formal partners when we signed with Welbi beginning of last year. And it's just been a game changer for our programming here at Holland Home.
I think Marenta forgot superstar in our description of her role because she's been an amazing person there and really, really caring for her residents. And I think this is why we, from the get-go, got so along.
First of all, Elizabeth, what have you learned so far about healthy aging now, going through what you went through in your family? And then with Welbi, what have you learned so far in this journey?
So much. I've learned so much, and I think we're learning every day. And I know I've had this discussion before with Holland Home about how important it is to continuously evolve because obviously there's a new generation coming with new expectations. But the biggest thing that I've learned is that social isolation, as we probably most of us know by now because it's been known in the newspaper, is that social isolation is as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So we need to take action. We need to make sure that this social isolation in those communities is lowering every day. And the biggest thing is about this personalized approach, like with the baby boomers coming in and the new expectations of having this personalized touch, we need to be able to adapt so that people want to get out of their room and they don't want to be socially isolated and not participate. And I think Holland Home, like Marenta, can definitely talk about it, about how they've been offering those personalized touch and how it's been making a big change into the engagement and participation of their residents.
Marenta, I have the same question for you. As you've been in this role for 10 years, what have you learned about what healthy aging looks like firsthand?
I think being in a community setting like Holland Home's campuses is the key. We had a front row seat during the pandemic to how social isolation impacts residents and how taking away being able to, meet in groups, how that changed their entire lifestyles and the impact that had on their well-being. And it was a domino effect and it impacts everything. Elizabeth mentioned, it's the equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It also just increases your risk for physical, mental health decline, increases your risk of dementia and all the related conditions. And I think myself in our life enrichment teams having the front row seat to that, seeing the dangers of social isolation and not being able to gather with your neighbors. We signed with Welbi, shortly after that to help us climb back out of that and get back on track. So all of those things, it impacts their entire lifestyle.
I'm struck by something for both of you. And Elizabeth, you're in Canada. Marenta, we actually touched on this on a previous episode where the Surgeon General of the United States actually talked about isolation and loneliness as a serious public health threat. Elizabeth, your reaction to that when that made headlines?
Couldn't agree more. It is extremely, extremely dangerous, and we need to take action today. And I think combined with the shortage of staff, we need to have the right technology and the right resources and right tool to be able to come in and support those communities into providing the right experience that will get the residents out of their room and will get them to participate or will allow them to identify a resident that maybe was participating for the past 2 months to yoga, chair yoga that was organized, but there's a decline in that person's participation, and we need to have the right tool to be able to identify and be proactive. I think what we've seen with COVID is that people are mostly realizing the importance of engagement and how being reactive just leads to nothing.
That's a great point. One thing we've learned in our previous conversations here on this day and age in the podcast is that a new generation of adults, we've referred to them, a lot of them would by and large prefer to age in place. And there are now services available to help in providing assistance around the home. And we're very thankful for that, Atria Home Care to name one. But aside from that, physical care, medical care, we need to be thinking about this for the future. And I'd like to ask you about some key factors in terms of thinking about making these choices for older parents right now, because we have learned that we really can't rely on enough people to care for people in their homes. This is a changing dynamic. Marenta, I'll start with you.
I think Elizabeth touched on, the loneliness. The 3 plagues of senior living is loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. And that accounts for a bulk of suffering and with older adults. So anything we can do to support person-centered care through life enrichment, through programming, what can we offer those that live with us to elevate, their everyday lives beside the obvious care, beside, the medical support? What programming opportunities can we walk alongside them to create that just elevates their quality of life? That's what we're striving to do every day. How can our teams be adapting to meet that need? I think a solid life enrichment program it's a must-have. I think previously it was a bonus to be able to offer outings and programming opportunities, but now it's required. It's what is expected of those moving in. And as we shift to that personalized lifestyle experience that Elizabeth touched on, I think if you can age in place and you have that desire to do so, there's services out there that will definitely support that. But moving into a community like Holland Home and our campuses, you have those neighbors, you have those connections that you're building upon every day.
Elizabeth, I think one of the things we fail to think about is if you have older parents at home, and you may even have mom and dad at home, they could be, if they get so used to a pattern of, living by themselves, they could be lacking social interaction, which is so critical, or just get in a pattern where they don't want to socialize. Maybe coming out of COVID, they just said, hey, we're okay by ourselves. Forgetting life enrichment activities and how important those are. That's a very important piece. Elizabeth, I'd like to have you talk about that and just in terms of what that means for healthy aging as adults.
Certainly. Well, I think a big thing that we've seen more and more is communities, like a lot of our clients are now doing this, is they understand that there's this transition that needs to happen between being used to being at home and then joining a community. And a lot of our clients, what they've started doing is offering those kind of adult day programs within their community so that they can slowly get people to realize the importance of getting out of their home, joining a community, and then eventually it's easier for them to join in because they've already made friends. And a big thing that we've seen is that people are now using Welbi to make those correlation in between residents or even potential clients that could move in to be like, in the example of my grandpa, he was a huge hockey fan. Would they had Welbi, they would have been able to identify all the other fans within the community and then organize a hockey night or something like that. Like really be able to talk to the hobby of the person or what the person wants so that we can make and create and facilitate those connections that are essential for any human being. Like we've all suffered during COVID where we were all locked in and we just wish we could go out and talk to others. Well, let's try to get people out now and facilitate those introductions.
In Welbi, I can speak from Holland Home's experience that has definitely helped us to do that. So social isolation can happen slowly over time where you might miss it and then it might be too late. It's detrimental to that person's aging process and their well-being. So a platform like Welbi has helped us just so quickly identify if Jim has had an increase in declining to participate in programming, it alerts the staff in real time instantly so that they can intervene. They can so quickly try to ward off the consequences of social isolation.
I really wanted to jump in on that. I'm so glad you said that because I was going to ask you, but Marenta, my dad he's just a hermit. He doesn't, dad or mom just likes being by themselves. She likes to knit, read a book, watch TV, and that's about it. She doesn't need to socialize, or at least she says that. So that's a really proactive and a powerful thing to be able to identify those people who seem to be withdrawing.
Absolutely. And just being able to chart all that within Welbi with all the features and insights the platform does offer, if your mom's okay and, we're tracking all of that and we're checking in on her consistently to make sure she is okay doing those personalized programming experiences, then that's all right for her. But we just need to make sure we're keeping an eye on that and keep staying in front of it.
Elizabeth, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think Holland Homes is also innovating and they're leading the market right now where they are trying to adapt to any of their residents. Like I remember talking to Marenta about how they have some residents now between 60 all the way to 90 years old. Like, how do you adapt your services? And by using the right resources and tools to be able to identify it, it's not because you're 60 that you can't have a good conversation with an 80-year-old, right? It's about making those connections, making those relationships within your community that will allow you to get people that might, like your mom who likes to be alone. Maybe if we introduced her to Hannah, who actually loves knitting as well, well, what do we have to lose? Like, we're just going to try and see if Hannah wants to now join your mom to the knitting. And then next thing you know, there's going to be a knitting club within the community. I think it's all about adapting to who is in your community and not just trying to impose programming onto your residents.
Who knows? We might have a point where Holland Home's got a hockey rink in one of their future living facilities. That would be worth showing up for. I think that would be a blast. You're hearing the voice of Elizabeth Audette-Bourdeau. She is CEO of Welbi. I'm also joined in this episode of This Day and Age by Marenta Klinger, Director of Resident Life, superstar, as she's described by Elizabeth, here at Holland Home. And I want to just, for a lot of our listeners hearing us on this podcast right now, they may be surprised. And we've thrown a lot of things out at you in terms of what healthy aging looks like and what happens when you don't age in a healthy manner. Another study found that socially isolated adults, older adults, experience more chronic lung illness and depressive symptoms compared to adults who actually had good social networks and social supports. This is according to a study from the National Institute on Aging. So we know now, science is showing that you do need connection. People need other people. Not only that, people need connection. So that knitting partner is actually going to help you be healthier. What a concept, you guys. Elizabeth, were you going to say something?
You couldn't have said it better. We need to take action, and now it's now or never, because we've already seen the impact of social isolation that's been actually increased over the last years with the restrictions that were put out there. And now is when we need to act and get people engaged, get them out of their rooms so that we can save as much as we can of their health and bring them back on track.
I want to ask both of you, though, do you find the residents here at Holland Home, Marenta and Elizabeth, the folks you deal with in your work with Welbi, do you find that some are surprised that isolation can make you sick?
I think so. I think it's not two things that you generally connect in your brain. And I think it's hard work to maintain and create new friendships, especially as you move through the stages of life.
Yeah.
Your circles of friends change depending on what you're experiencing and what you're going through. And then you throw in moving into a new community altogether, maybe from out of state. And that's tough. It takes a lot of effort and being very intentional to get out there and meet new people. And so I do think it is surprising for people to hear that, and something that we do try to stay ahead of, and our teams try to stay ahead of every day.
Marenta, I want to ask you about what's happening right now today, and as you look toward the future, senior living communities in the industry as a whole, especially here at Holland Home, understand they need to bring engagement and life enrichment to the seniors. So this is something you're focusing on not only every day, but you're looking in the future. We talked about the needs of the baby boomers. Can you speak to that for a moment? And then Elizabeth, I'll have you add your feelings as well.
Sure. I think we are already trying to navigate that change. Elizabeth mentioned our previous conversation where we welcomed residents into our independent living campuses last year with ages ranging from 60 to 92. So we're already trying to balance the increased expectations of those who are moving in with just the natural progression of the increased needs of those who have aged in place in their level of care over the last couple of years, especially. So just really trying to straddle that gap, trying to plan programming that appeals to both. And we don't always get it right. So it is a new experience for our teams, and we might fail, but we definitely learn something, and then we move on. We try to adapt, and we try to just keep going. And appeal to this new generation moving in. It's much more about that lifestyle, that personalized experience, and how can we walk alongside them. You know, we don't want to fill the calendar with the things we want. We want it to be the things that they want in their homes. So how can we walk alongside them to elevate their lives?
How have you seen that change over 10 years?
I think we are definitely in the midst of moving from the bingo, birthday parties, Bible studies, to more requests for even overnight trips, or a lot more pickleball tournaments and groups. And you're just seeing this shift of historical programming to more modern requests.
Yeah.
For very personalized interest programming.
Have you seen a similar change, Elizabeth?
Yeah, certainly. And I think Holland Home is an example out there, and they are leading the path towards what needs to become the new standards. We need to look into providing this personalized experience to the residents in order for them to first want to move in, be attracted to move into those communities, but also to stay healthy. And a good example of that is that I remember when we started Welbi 7 years ago, discussion about how do I differentiate my community versus another used to be around, what are they serving as food? What does the location look like? Or what does my room is going to look like? And now when I'm talking to clients, it's the total opposite. The discussion is now, how do you understand me so that you can provide me with a program that will get me engaged, that will get me to get to know other people? I'm moving from my big house, my big lot, my big garden to join a community, but I want to make sure that the community that I pick will be the right one that I want to continue to age in. And I think Holland Home is exactly doing what they need to. And yes, Marenta said that they're trying new things, but it's by trying new things that they will succeed and facilitate this new transition of the baby boomers moving into those communities.
And for our listeners, as both Marenta and Elizabeth have made clear, don't look at a senior living community with the expectations or the misperception that it's the same place that your parents lived in or perhaps signed up to live in 20 years ago. Things have changed. And now with baby boomers rapidly aging and this coming onslaught of baby boomers looking for senior living solutions, vibrant senior living solutions, that's a big challenge for everybody in the industry. Marenta, I'm going to start with you. Is this something that keeps folks at Holland Home and your staff up at night? I mean, how do you face this?
I think we are so blessed with a team of individuals who do not settle for status quo. So I envision them waking up every morning thinking, what can we try today? And they go and they research it, and they're always on top of new trends and new research. And then they try it, and they're not afraid to try it. And that is a huge asset to our teams and our programming, and then ultimately our residents, when we are really, they all try to form more of a partnership with the residents in, you know, what does a purpose-filled and engaged life look like to you and to this unit? And they just strive to create the best programming possible. And I think they succeed. So I don't know if it necessarily keeps us up at night, but just really excited about it and excited to continue to try new things and learn what our future residents want to see.
Elizabeth, Audette-Bourdeau, your thoughts on the change and the impact with baby boomers becoming those looking at a vibrant future life in a senior living community?
I'm really, really excited because I know that there are people out there that want to see things change, like Holland Home, and they are taking the right action to be able to provide their teams with the right resources and the right tools that they need in order to provide this experience. And for me, it's just excitement. And what's keeping me up at night is not fear. It's really the excitement that there's so many groups moving forward right now in North America that wants to set new standards of what to provide in terms of experience to their residents. And I cannot wait because I do know that this will have a direct impact onto the health of millions of seniors. And I'm just so excited, and I just can't wait to continue to grow our team. Obviously, we've been tripling in the last year, just only the last year. And I know that we will continue to do so that we can continue to impact more lives.
You've certainly met a need, and it's exciting to hear that you're excited about the future. And I can tell from the look on Marenta's face, she is as well. I mean, it just presents opportunity. Final thoughts for our listeners. What kind of words of wisdom would you both have for our listeners, especially the adult kids of older parents, in terms of healthy aging? What words of wisdom would you have for them? Marenta Klinger, I'll start with you.
Well, for the older adults specifically, I would say don't wait to move in. I think that's something we hear over and over and over again is, I wish I would have moved in sooner. There is so much more going on here than I ever realized. And just don't wait to take advantage of all of those programming opportunities and to move in and become a resident and take advantage of them. And to the adult kids, I would just say to support your parents the best you can and just walk alongside them in that journey of finding the community that supports them the best and meets their needs the best and will provide that personalized experience for them. And we obviously hope that's one of our communities here. And we would, like Elizabeth said, just very excited about what the future holds for programming.
Elizabeth?
My advice would be to partner with groups that are looking to innovate and that are continuously looking forward, that wants to provide this personalized experience, that are trying every single day to improve the services that they are providing. This is the type of community that I would look for my grandparents or my parents. And I think they are out there. We have an amazing example here today with Holland Homes. And I think that if they show that there is this desire to continuously improve and provide this personalized experience, you can rest assured that at least your loved one will be understood on a personal basis and they will be provided with the experience that they deserve.
Elizabeth, I can hear, and I know our listeners can hear, the passion for this subject of healthy aging. We can hear it in your voice and the words you speak. Thank you so much for being a terrific guest on this episode. Marenta Klinger sang for you, superstar level director of resident life at Holland Home. She's the one who said it. Don't look at me. Both of you, terrific guests. And I think a really impactful episode for our listeners. I really hope you will enjoy this. I hope you adult children of these older parents looking for a vibrant future and healthy aging picture in their life, push them to be connected. Will you push them in that manner? We want to encourage you, every one of you, to stay tuned as we continue to look deeper into topics affecting the growing aging population in every one of our future episodes of This Day and Age. In the meantime, you can check us out online, thisdayandage.org, catch up on past episodes. We've got some great ones for you to listen to. And make sure you subscribe and share with family and friends so they too can stay informed and make confident decisions as they age. And until next time, for Holland Home and This Day and Age, I'm your host, Phil Tower. Thank you so much for listening.